He has a 1-1 count. That one's struck high. Left side. That one's going. That's out of here off the ropes. You have got to be kidding me. Fireworks. And here you go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome one, welcome all inside another edition of, well, you guessed it, High and Tight, flagship show, part of the IA Baseball Network. Again, thanks for joining in, and as always, thanks for taking time to have some baseball talk with us, because we finally here, practice. We've finally made it. You know, the old adage, practice. Yes, practice. We are here, and we're finally ready, and that means that we are only days away from the start of the 2024 season. So really, really fun. Of course, Andrew Brown here alongside the one and only Cade Nissen as we get the rolling on talking about our, do you have a drum roll, Cade? Because I only have my desk. You know?
I don't, but it's a big day, Andrew. It's a huge day. Preseason team rankings. We've been talking about it for months and months, like, oh, we're just ready for the season. We're ready to get going. And here we are. We're going to have a lot of new people tuning into our show that don't usually probably tune in on our weekly show. So if you're new here, new to High and Tight, be sure to join us again next week. We'll be talking whatever's new coming up. We always have new topics we're discussing, and Andrew does a great job, and I'm always glad to hop on and join him. So be sure to tune in next week, whether we're talking rankings, whether we're talking opinions, whatever it may be. It's always a great watch. Andrew has great guests, and we're just super excited. But you're here for Class 4A preseason team rankings. Here we go. Now, these are not Andrew and I's rankings. These are our rankers rankings. We are simply revealing them. You can give us some tough love. You can comment. You can whatever. But just know this is not our rankings. We did not make these, but our rankers do an incredible job. They put a lot of work in, and we're so excited to share their rankings with you guys. So just some quick announcements before we get going. Opening day, May 13th. Got to bring that up Monday. There's so many good games. We're still deciding where we want to go. Up in the air. Drop a comment. Who's your squad this year? Let us know what kind of where we're touching base. We'd love to know what teams we're hitting and what teams we're not hitting, so we can get these videos out. We want to become a household name across the state of Iowa, and that's the end goal. So go ahead and drop a comment of your squad this year. And our preseason practice tour, Andrew. I guess the people will be seeing this today on Wednesday. We're going to be in Sadell tonight. We've gotten a ton of teams reaching out saying, hey, come check us out. Come check us out. We're going to do what we can to hit as many as possible. There's only 2 of us, and there's a ton of programs in the state of Iowa, but we're going to do our absolute best. Got some stuff lined up. We want to make some cool content for you guys. We want to make this as big of a deal as possible, and that's our end goal. So that's all of our announcements. Let's get right into it. Now, we're going to release these in sections, and then we're going to break down the top 5 a little bit more in depth. So I'm going to run through, and then I'm going to hand it off to Andrew, and we're going to get his thoughts and opinions. But we're going to start with 15 through 11 in Class 4A preseason team rankings. Here we go. I'll reveal it right now. And there it is. Your 15 through 11 Class 4A preseason team rankings. Let's just run through it very briefly before I hand it off. At number 15, Pleasant Valley, 27-16 last year. Lincoln Dalton was one of the best freshmen in the state last year. He'll look to fill that ace role with the departure of O'Donnell and Sam George. Taj and Tate Lyon will need to add to their strong 23 campaign. Pleasant Valley always up there in Class 4A, always a treat, and they come in at number 15. At number 14, Cedar Falls, a semifinalist last year. We learned a ton about them. Coonrat, the big guy, the home run king, returning for the Tigers in that middle of the lineup. He's going to be looking to drive in a ton of runs. At number 13, Indianola, 28-10. We haven't talked about them much in the preseason. They had a sneaky 28-win year last year. They're going to be a ton of fun to watch. Super excited to check out the Indians over in Indianola. At number 12, Hawkeyes Northwest. They were up there in my Class 4A preseason top pitching staffs. They return a ton of arms, just 21-21 last year. But obviously our Class 4A ranker took into account the amount of arms they return. And if they can improve on that team batting average of 242, they're going to start to pile up wins in the CIML. And at number 11, rounding out this little quad, Sioux City North, 26-13 last year. They returned their top 8 bats in every single inning pitched in from 2023. The Stars look really, really good. Andrew, what are your first thoughts?
My first thought here, you mentioned Hawkeyes Northwest. Yes, they had an even split on the record last year, but they had the 3rd strongest schedule in the state, not just in 4A, in the state. So you look at what teams like that who have a lot returning, especially on that pitching staff, that does wonders. So I think you're going to see teams like Hawkeyes Northwest, who may have taken a dip last year, they're gonna make a big spin up there. And then who doesn't like Aiden Shunk and company at Sioux City North? They have a lot going for them. This is going to be the team, I feel, that's not just looking to make a postseason run, but a state run. Yeah, because it's their time, right? They have abided, they've gotten through there, they've aged a little bit, and now they're ready. So, man, what more can you ask about all these squads? They do a heck of a job, and it really is fun to watch them. You mentioned Cedar Falls. They're a top 7 team in total bases last year. They return the biggest one of all that, as you mentioned, Coonrat. And I think, as you mentioned as well, a shout out to Pleasant Valley. This is a team that has owned the MAC the last couple of years, and they've had a really good sophomore team. I think that Pleasant Valley will make a big jump because they'll have such huge contributions from that sophomore group that nearly went undefeated last year in their record. So all of that combined, I mean, man, these are teams that I think will make some big moves this year. And I don't think you'll end up seeing these teams in the same spots by the end of the year.
Absolutely. I love it. You talk about Sioux City North and that team that you could see making a state run. Well, they got a rival over there in Sioux City that leads the way at number 10 as we reveal our second little quad of rankings right here, 10 through 6, as you can see on the screen. Starting off with Sioux City East, like I said, 25 games won last year, 25-15, and they returned 5 guys from that squad who were freshmen or 8th graders. Our ranker really, really likes Sioux City East. He says expect a huge jump this year as Case and Claiborne, Cal Jepson, and Jack Steeler become big-time players. Moving on to number 9, Ames. I know they're going to feel slighted here. I mean, it's how they're going to feel. I mean, they were the runner-up last year. They're going to feel like this is too low. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Our ranker has them at number 9. They're going to look to make a jump. Obviously, they're going to be looking to improve on this number 9 preseason ranking. The little Cyclones come in slotted inside the top 10. At number 8, Ottumwa, a team we've talked about a lot this preseason. They return a lot of guys. They've got Iowa commit Tucker Long, looking to add to his 1.41 ERA and 55 Ks last year as a freshman. They also return their top 3 bats in Dalton Dowd, Long, and Javen Rominger. At number 7, Dowling Catholic, a semifinalist last year, 27 wins. They've been a mainstay in the state tournament. I mean, they've been about as consistent as can be in Class 4A. They come in slotted at number 7 here. And rounding out this little quad, number 6, Prairie, 33 wins last year. They do lose Maddox Freeze and some other big guys, but they're going to be looking to return 3 top arms in Cam Voles, Reed Burkle, and Logan Wagemeister. Andrew, what stands out here?
Oh, man, first off, I want to say Prairie may have lost, maybe losing quite a bit, but there's still a lot of guys on that team. If you will remember back to last year when basically the entire Prairie team went to the American Legion World Series. So a lot of these guys have not been far removed from really elite competition. So Prairie, despite the losses that they've had in Maddox Freeze and others, they're going to be a team that's experienced at the very least. I think they're going to be just a bit above everyone else in terms of being ready, just because they haven't been far removed from that. And then you talk about, teams like Ottumwa. This is a team that when I looked at offensively, it's going to be scary. One of the top, if not the top stolen base team last year. And they did what they needed to do. They came out on top, still a 1 win shy of 30. You look across that they have not had very many 30 or 29 plus win seasons over the course of the last decade. So Ottumwa, they're going to make some big moves. They rightfully deserve a spot in the top 10. But I also like Sioux City East there. Coach Miller, since he's come on here, and I believe his 4th, 5th year, this team has been absolutely solid. And I think he's done it right from the ground up. They're getting new pitching facilities and new facilities at their field. And so there's a lot of excitement coming into the Sioux City East Black Raider team. And man, you can't be hyped up enough about what all these teams are. I will say Ames, yes, right now they may seem slighted, but this is a chance to go ahead and just like last year,
Yeah.
prove them all wrong. Prove everyone wrong and just slight us all, because you know what? You lose a good chunk, but that doesn't mean that this team won't run the tables again. I look forward to Ames retweeting this or doing something around the road when they are owning the competition.
I love it. I love it. Hey, that's why we're here. This is fun. And for entertainment purposes. This is to get a lot of people excited for baseball this summer. And whether it's good excited or bad excited, we're way too low. Either way, we're excited to bring it to you. But we've still got 5 teams, Andrew, to break down. We're going to do each of these separately, go a little bit more in depth as we get to our number 5 team in Class 4A preseason. Last year, it was their first year in Class 4A. It was no issue, that adjustment to a bigger class. 30-7, a quarterfinalist. They fell to Dowling in that quarterfinal game, but they returned some pieces. Keaton Fenn and Dane Mock will lead the rotation, and Tate Perrin returns as maybe the state's best closer. DCG, I mean, what's not to like, Andrew?
Oh man, DCG, when you lose a guy that hit the ball out of Lone Depot Park in Miami. You lose a big bat like that, only to have guys like Dane Mock, Tate Perrin,
Gray, yeah,
those guys kind of on the other end. And offensively, they got. When you got Notre Dame commit on the squad, I mean, you're doing something right. But ultimately, Coach Castenson is a marvelous guy when it comes to baseball mind. Talking with him, I don't know if he uses any other vernacular aside from baseball language. He would know what 6 + 4 + 3 equals, and it's he would know that if you asked him right off the bat. So DCG, it was interesting last year. There were so many question marks, man. Even with the Campadilli-led squad, would they make waves or even do well in 4A? You know what? Their conference in Little Hawkeye has proven them, has groomed them for higher competition. And, they went through it. They did what they needed to do. And I will say, DCG has been playing teams like Urbandale and others for years. This isn't the first time, nor even close, that they have faced 4A competition. So kudos to, Brett Butcher and company for at the activities department, making sure that they provide and put up high-level competition. And DCG has answered the call. There's not a lot that you can say negatively about this squad. The Mustangs, I think, I'm going to go out and say it right now. I think the Mustangs are going to be another state tournament team this year.
Absolutely. I love it. We're going to hop from the metro area out to eastern Iowa for number 4. Andrew, I know you love these guys, specifically their offense. I know we talked greatly about where they should be in your Class 4A preseason. I remember you texting me. It is Kennedy, the Cougars, 29-12 last year. A little bit of a disappointing finish, nonetheless, but they return a ton of guys, ton of bats, ton of arms. I mean, number 4, I'm sure it was really, really tough for a Class 4A ranker cutting up these top 4 or 5 teams. What do you think about Kennedy?
Oh, man. Well, first off, you can't say enough about what this team did. I mean, Nolan Graw is, obviously collegiate bound for a reason. You take a look at a lot of these guys, man, it's hard to be this dominant in 4A. It really is. But you take a look at what they did last year. Again, Nolan Graw, like I mentioned, top 5 in total bases. This team was number 2 in total bases. And they bring back perhaps some of the most dynamic players, and I'd argue some of the most dynamic players that we have in 4A. And I don't know. This is a team that you go from conference to out of conference, you're getting the same high level. In the Mississippi Valley division of the Mississippi Valley Conference, I don't know. You can't have a day off in that. And so I love what this team is. I think this team got, they just fell short last year. And I feel like we all missed out on some spectacular state tournament production. We got a lot of it. I'm not saying we didn't get anything, but how fun would it have been to see Cedar Rapids Kennedy there as well, man? I'd have loved to see them there. They are hungry, they're ready, and this is a team that's going to go. And from day one, I'm excited to catch them this year. I can't wait to catch a game. I know you can either. Like you said, I debated so heavily. This is a team that stacks up toe-to-toe with anybody out there. So it's hard to put them anywhere aside from the top, and you have to get into nitpicking things. I mean, seriously, with offense, I did that. I had to go by days, what they doing during a certain stretch of games. That's how I ended up looking at it, because this is too close to call with this team.
Absolutely. Well, we're staying in Eastern Iowa for number 3 in Class 4A. It is the Little Hawks of Iowa City High, a team I've already had the chance to see opening day of practice. I was there. I had so much fun. Coach Mitchell was a joy to be around. He's got his kids playing really, really loose. They've got a great culture there. They're out there competing on day one. They've got a ton of guys returning back. Max Waldschmidt, I had a ton of fun watching him throw yesterday or opening day of practice. He was hitting 90. They've got Talon Nelson. They've got Dom. I mean, this team returns a lot on offense, a lot on the mound. They lose a good chunk, but plenty to like. And obviously, Iowa City High, number 3 Class 4A preseason team rankings. This is a really good spot for them.
Yeah, and rightfully so. They've earned that spot. You last year I got the chance to see them against Western Dubuque, and man, their defense was just as stellar there. This is a team that, I mean, wow. What more can you ask for? They've had, unfortunately, a coach fall over the last 5 years, and there was a lot of struggle with that, but they've rallied around the fact that they've lost someone, and then they just come out even better. And this is a group that is truly a family-oriented look. You mentioned Dominic Salibi. I love him. My gosh, was he tracking every ball in the field, and he could see the ball off the bat extremely well. When you turn a second gear without having with seemingly effortless, something's right there. And that's what he did. When I caught him, when I see him throughout highlights, City High has it, man. They have got it. And you mentioned Coach Mitchell. I don't know if you could get any better. Conversations with him are always on the up and up. They're always on the right side of things. And, you feel smarter about the game just talking with him. And I know you got that. I know you got a glimpse of that here, Cade. But yeah, it's talking with that coaching staff. It's pretty easy to see how they are one of the top coaching staffs in the state. So, and I'd argue even in the Midwest, they know what to do. So yeah, City High, I don't see them moving very much lower. In fact, it's really the sky's the limit for them.
Yeah, totally. It was a common theme interviewing those kids. You could tell they enjoyed the state tournament appearance last year, but they made it very, very evident that they're going for it all this year, and that just making it is not their goal this year. They want to end up higher on that pedestal, and they want to end up on top in Class 4A, and they made that very evident. But we've got our top 2, Andrew. I haven't revealed it yet. It's Johnston. It's Ankeny Centennial, our Class 4A ranker. Go ahead with your mini drum roll. We've got state champions back to back. They're at number 2. Johnston, our Class 4A ranker, put the Dragons here at the spot. Back to back champions. They played in the title in 5 straight seasons. They return a potent offense, but the theme is going to be who's going to be on the mound for Johnston, who's going to be leading the way. They've got guys. We just don't know them quite yet. They lost a ton on the mound. I know Coach Barta and company they're gonna have their squad ready to roll on opening day, one of the bigger opening day games across the state against Ames, state title rematch. Andrew, what do you think? Johnston Dragons, number 2.
Man, Johnston, truly their offense, I'll start with that, is by far second to none. I did an exercise when putting my 4A offenses list together, and I went, what is a scenario in which Johnston isn't number 1? And I thought about that for a good 5 minutes and went, no, I can't. This offense is truly astounding. It's one of the tops in the nation, right? Or I would say state, even argue nation, high school wise. But one thing is for sure, we've seen this time and time again where we go, man, how is Johnston going to recover from the loss that they've had the previous year? You go back 2 years and you go, okay, man, you lost some big guys, and you're wondering, okay, can they repeat that? And they ended up doing that. This is a team that's been to the state tournament almost on a consistent basis, while everyone else is a Rolodex. They're the one staple that has constantly been in 4A over the last 5+ years. So offensively, they've got it down pat. I'm not worried about that. The question marks, like you said, do arise on the pitching staff, but this is Coach Barta. I can sit there and hours and hours and listen to him. He's been asked a number of times to be speakers at different events simply because he's an analytical mind. He knows. He can see what the hit is telling him numerically. He can see how all that breaks down. And one of the things that he and the coaching staff do a fantastic job at, and I know everyone does, but they really make sure that you don't get injured. And we see that. We see the guys year in and year out. They stay there. They're healthy, and I like it. Man, could you argue that they're number one? Yes. Would you be wrong? No. That's the tough part about this, man. It truly is. I'm jacked. I'm ready to go. And but this is a team last year that faced off, and it didn't have the top schedule across it all, but you know what? They had top 10. So 8th, I believe, according to this. So in the end, they made the most out of it, and this is a team that I believe truly deserves a top 2 spot.
Yeah, not that the back-to-back champs need any more motivation going into the 2024 campaign, but we might have just given it to them, Andrew. But we've got a team ahead of them that you could argue. I mean, you can argue for each of these top 4, 5, 6, 7 teams to be higher or lower. But our Class 4A ranker did go with Ankeny Centennial at this number 1 spot, Andrew. They lose some guys. I mean, you talk about a team hungry and on a mission this year.
Yeah,
it's Ankeny Centennial. I mean, they fell up short. That's the bottom line. You know it. They know it. They're going to be hungry. Mm-hmm. They're going to be ready to go, and they're going to be wanting to make it to Cedar Rapids to that state tournament. They lose Everson Churchman. They lose a 7-game winner in Easton Pratt. He was sensational last year. But they return some pieces and some big ones at that, and that's why they find themselves here at number 1.
And, rightfully so. This was an offense that, mind you, is cooking, and it was doing very well. It had a slide at the end of the year, and unfortunately didn't make it all the way. But, you lose Severson, you lose Churchman, but I will say the name that you should never forget from here on out, Emerson Alberhosky, the junior from last year, now into his senior year. He was under those guys, and of course Oki and all those, but he's going to be the guy offensively that I think runs the ship here. Him and the Brule brothers, the Bash brothers of I would say the entire state, but I will definitely go with the CIML, the Bash brothers of the CIML, Lucas and Isaac Brule. Man, I think that they're gonna also run the table. So what you have are guys that can step up into those top spots and not miss a beat. Ultimately, yes, you lose some guys out, but man, I like them, and they're certainly hungry as well. You mentioned it; they're starving for it, and they know they didn't end the season the way they should have, or the way that we all thought that they would. And so I guarantee you they're gonna do everything they can to make sure that does not be the case here in 2024.
Yeah, team ERA, Andrew, of 1.99 last year. So they could pitch it, and they return a lot of key guys on the hill, including Oki, Alberhasky, Glatt, Stewart. They've got plenty of firepower, and they're going to be ready to roll. But, Andrew, we did it. Class 4A in the books. Woo. Leave a comment, drop a comment, agree, disagree. Who's not in the top 15 that we need to keep an eye on? Who's in the top 15 that should be higher? Everybody's going to have a disagreement. Sadly, we cannot please everybody. But we hope you enjoyed. This is, again, entertainment purposes, Class 4A preseason team rankings. I doubt this ends up correctly. It rarely does, Andrew. But we had a ton of fun making it. Special thanks to our Class 4A ranker and all of our rankers for doing a ton of work. We've also got 3A, 2A, and 1A dropping on YouTube today. Go check those out too, whether you're a fan of those classes or not. Get educated. High school baseball in the state of Iowa is incredible, and it always will be, and we're going to do our best to bring as much coverage of that to you guys. Cade and Andrew, signing off. Class 4A fans. We'll see you next time.